Attorney General Gentner Drummond joining us here on Oklahoma Chronicle this week. Candidate for governor. Nice to have you here, sir.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Well, absolutely. Happy to have you here. You know, it's a crowded field for this GOP primary. What do you think sets you apart compared to the other candidates?
Well, I think truly being a combat fighter pilot, traveling at the speed of sound, making decisions, supersonic, taking on combat fire, making split decisions that life and death are pretty good precursor to being the Attorney General, making hard decisions on a daily basis, and is exactly the kind of executive that Oklahomans need.
I mean, you have a rather diverse resume. I was just reviewing it here again recently. Yes, you flew combat missions there in the Persian Gulf. You're attorney, obviously, for decades. Attorney General now. You have some experience as a rancher, of course. I think in banking and other things like that. I mean, you've done a lot of things. You haven't been a legislator, and there are people in the race that perhaps they do have more experience when it comes to crafting legislation and passing bills and stuff like that. How should primary voters look at that when thinking about you?
None of them have been executives. I am an executive officer for the state of Oklahoma. I am the Attorney General. The legislature passes laws, I execute. The governor executes on the laws that are passed by legislators. So for these last 3.5 years, it's been a remarkable opportunity to learn from the legislators, build relationships, and I'm ready to move from executive office AG to executive office governor, and that's what sets me apart. These guys have not ever led companies, truly big companies. When I took the oath of office, I walked away from 5 operational companies that I built, over 500 employees, annual payroll over 30 million. That's a leader in business and the Attorney General. So you really have the culmination of all qualities necessary. And I mentioned, being that combat fighter pilot really gives me that edge to think and deal and make hard decisions. I think Oklahomans are ready for an executive that makes decisions, doesn't placate out-of-state corporations, doesn't placate political operatives, does the right thing, informed by the law, informed by the facts. Hard decisions.
You talked about executing the law. I've noticed a real big focus from your campaign when it comes to law and order, when it comes to border security. That seems to be the number one issue I tend to see consistently from the campaign and the messaging. Why is that number one for you?
Well, when I took office, there were 12,000 marijuana grow facilities in the state of Oklahoma. Yeah, we were picking off one every once in a while. There are now 1,400. That's 10,600 that have been closed by me or my men and women in partnership with OBN and other federal partners. Something changed. Attorney General Gentner Drummond took office. Now, that's part of the resume. Where the future goes is we need a leader that owns education, doesn't just talk about it, but owns it, prioritizing those 2, 3, and 4-year-olds so they're ready to learn and they can learn to read thereafter, prioritizing mental health, health care, partnership with the tribes, workforce readiness.
You're going down my list of questions right now. In fact, it's funny you mentioned education first because that was my next question. That's something that we talk about extensively here on Oklahoma Chronicle. We really do. We've seen a big push from the legislature this year, maybe trying some extra things, going an extra step further, a little bit more advancement. I saw that you do have a plan on your website.
Right. In January of 2025, I launched a plan. Now, a lot of the candidates are going, oh my gosh, that's important. Maybe we better get into that. So other candidates are lifting from that. The legislature works with me every day. They are following that plan as well. We have to be purposeful to change. We can't, education is not going to be improved on a hope. Education is going to be improved on leadership. And we need a governor who owns it. The states that have changed, not because they had well-funded education departments or a superintendent of public education, they had a governor who made that number one objective.
Right.
And my family's been here since the 1890s. I've been richly blessed as a family living in Oklahoma, and I want to give back, and I want to give my children and grandchildren a compelling reason to stay in Oklahoma. And to do that, we have to increase our educational measurables.
Sure. When the current governor, Kevin Stitt, is asked about education and improving outcomes, a lot of times he kind of reverts back and talks about school choice, that school choice is going to improve things. I don't know exactly how you feel about school choice. You may support it strongly, but do you think that is a key component, and what else must be done if there's one or two things?
Well, certainly I think the people have spoken and the people want school choice, so I'm all about that. That's fine. still 400,000 young Oklahomans are in our public school system.
Right.
Right, school choice will never overcome that.
There's still going to be kids that are going to
We got 400,000 kids that deserve to be better than 50th, and we do that through leadership. And like I mentioned, I mean, really, we have to start with the 2-year-old. We can't wave a wand and all of a sudden every third grader reads. We have to back it up. Now, the affluent, the friends of the governor, they don't need daycare, right? They can afford whatever they want. I'm talking about Oklahomans that need help and put their children in a quality daycare so they're stimulated mentally and fed and ready as a kindergartner to then learn to read. And that's the path.
And that takes investment a lot of times. And I know, just having some conversations behind the scenes, I'm hearing that next year's budget is probably going to be tighter than even this year's budget, due to a number of different factors. So how do we make sure that we prioritize, people want tax relief, people want relief in other forms, but that we're still able to pay for the things that we need?
If you would indulge me, it takes a process.
Okay.
So if we work on education, mental health, healthcare, workforce deliverables, partnership with the tribes, that program, those are my 5 priorities, that will drive revenue into the state of Oklahoma. We'll have a much larger corporate tax base, which takes the pressure off income tax so that we can get a plan toward zero income for all Oklahomans, which then provides affordability relief. We address property taxes by capping them for elders and veterans, and consider increasing the homestead exemption, providing affordability issues. It's a global plan. You cannot take one on its own. You need a leader that's got the capacity and scope to put his arms around these things and lead the state out of the bottom 10 of every positive measurable and away from the top 10 of every bad measurable. That's where we are. We've squandered 7.5 years.
You mentioned tribal relations. How would you rate Governor Kevin Stitt's grade when it comes to tribal relations during his term?
F minus. F minus. He perpetuates a racist theory that is not good for Oklahoma. The tribes, we've just lost Devon. If the tribes were publicly traded, let's forget that they're tribes. Let's just call them corporation, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee. If they're publicly traded, they'd be Fortune 500 companies. I'll bet you good money they'll never go to Houston. They're here. They're our partners. Let's open up state opportunities to partner with the tribes. Over the last 7 years, those 3 big tribes have invested extensively out of Oklahoma in operational companies. Why? The governor closed the door. We need a governor that full-throatedly embraces our tribal partners and looks at them for what they are. They offer economic diversity for our state. They're going to open up their health care and their mental health clinics in rural Oklahoma to non-tribal members. They are our very best and most valuable partner.
For people who pay attention to you, pay attention to how things work in Oklahoma, they'll notice that you and the governor oftentimes don't see eye to eye. You have, I don't know if it's an independent streak, but a lot of times when some people zig, you zag, For the GOP primary voter here that's going to be making a decision coming up shortly, how should they consider you in that? And if given the governor's role, how do you see your role when, say, working with President Trump? And how will all that work together? We have about 30 seconds to a minute.
No, I mean, I'm a staunch promoter of President Trump's policies. He is my partner in criminal justice and border security. So I have ICE and Homeland Security with me every day. So great partnership there. Where we need to have a governor that's unafraid to make hard decisions and will prioritize Oklahomans. There's this penchant to prioritize out-of-state corporations and transfer wealth to out-of-state corporations. I'm not one of those guys. We've seen where that's gotten us. It has not advanced the ball. I am committed to Oklahoma.
Attorney General Gentner Drummond, running for governor on the Republican ticket. We appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you down the campaign trail.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much.